And live. And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. This is your Sensei Almab, your griot, and I am coming to you from the deep green. And it's right now. I started doing this show back in May 8th of 2018. So it's been roughly about 15 months. And first it was 40 days. And that took about 10 months. And then it was 17 months of counting down. And hey, Twitchy, morning, baby. And I did it not so much in a response to. Yeah, I'm good. Keep an eye on it.
Done?
No. I haven't licked the plate. So, I did do it in response to John Birmingham's channel that he first started videotaping me and putting me up on his channel and monetizing me without telling me about it. But that's fine. John is always about monetizing. You're costing me money. Everything's a transactional relationship. Where life isn't a transactional relationship, And yesterday, he had a meltdown on his channel. I left it up there for, I don't know. I noticed it and made a few comments of, hey, buddy, come on, we all care about you. Because he pretty much was all about how people are after him and he's going to, be really nasty to them. And, I tried to make a few comments of, hey, like there's this guy named LeConte. And I'm going to name this show Schrodinger's Cat. And basically, Schrodinger's cat, he's a physicist and he's trying to describe something that if you're looking at it, it's this. If you're not looking at it, it's that. And in context to our life, it's like you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. So I was making some comments about a guy named LeConte, who is a really amazing psychologist. There's Freud, everything's about sex. There is Jung, the collective unconscious. And LeConte said, whenever you blame other people, whenever you, really after me, guys, God, get him. You're basically talking about yourself. And the fact that every time you accuse or threaten, you're basically doing that to yourself. And I have learned that love is the only way. Love's co-creation is the only tool. Doctor, I'll have another loaf if you will. And so here's a little something I'm going to show you. This is a video of John last Christmas with his kids. So he hasn't really hung with his family, right? When they were here in Roanoke for, a year and a half, he went and saw them, maybe, his boys. He was only 6 miles from them, and he never went to see them. I had to take them. Thank you, brother. So, that's the and so here's this last Christmas. You know, that's kind of how it's funny. You're the man relates to his family, through a lens. That's how it relates to everybody. And there is there are these two guys. One's called they have YouTube channels, right? One's called Billy on the Street. The other is Randy Rainbow, right? Now these two guys are like from out there, very middle class. Their parents aren't as wealthy as John's. They've had to basically put themselves through college, so they didn't get a master's degree, and they didn't go to a bunch of really good colleges. They went to one, stayed there. One guy went to community college, right? And they both had a real love of theater and the interaction of people with the audience. And so they, came to New York because that's where theater is. And, because they were so different, both guys were gay, and both guys were like flaming gay, and they embraced it. They didn't hide it. They didn't put it under, the radar or try to, be buff or work out or any of buff. Huh? So I used to, I had a lot of electrical clients through my mentor, Grandpa Paul. And then I picked things. I mean, most electricians just wanted to do new stuff. Most electricians in New York City were union. Built big buildings, blah, blah, blah. Me, I fixed things. Because none of these clients could get anybody to fix it, right? And then whoever they got had no idea what they were doing and made it worse. So one of my clients was Gold's Gym, right? The first one back in the day. And it was really world famous because that's where a lot of boxers would work out, right? But it was also a gym. So they had, it was a building and it had a lot of different floors. There was one that was pretty much boxers, and another one was the scenes, and there were no women. Not when I was there in the 70s, early 70s, late 60s. And so there were guys always working out, right? Lots, I mean, hundreds. I weren't hundreds when I was, every time I went there, but there were always different guys, big room, lots of machines, lots of weights. And I would go there and I fixed whatever it was, and it had a great steam room. And this is why I learned to love steam rooms and saunas, because it was one of the best socializing places because everyone was naked. So there was no class of, oh, look at my clothes. And it was just pretty amazing. So I go in there and I talk about anything. One of the majors, especially guys who are really built, I said, wow. So I watch you guys work out, and that's a hard, why do you do that? Every single one of them who was like, things like Mr. Universe, virtually all of them, whether they competed or not, did what they did because they loved what they did. They loved it. And they weren't like loving it because it made them look a certain way and people treated them. No, they loved the fact that they could sculpt their own body. And they were their own art people. And they were artists. There I was, living down in Cello, being an artist, and here these guys, and they had all kinds of jobs. Lawyers, doctors, policemen, garbage men, you name it. But, in the gym, you couldn't tell who they were. And there was a men's gym, so there were guys who would walk around naked in the gym. But girls weren't there. So it was truly an amazing environment, right? And Randy Rainbow, and so I wanted to play this for you because it's hilarious. Yeah. They're all very good. Well, some people ask me, I'm going to say that was the choice. There you go. Political problem was in Senator, and there was no baseball in Washington. So a lot has changed since then, but the one thing that's happened is that the country has been off on the wrong track for the vast majority of hopefully, as an audience, are jarred because you've developed this sort of, impression of who these guys are based on who they've been for the last 5 hours of the series, or just guys in prison trying to get out, which is what your experience would be of them if you met them. Gibson was proud of her style of play and told NPR about it in an interview in 1988. It has been written that I had. Bottom line is, why do we do anything, right? And why did I start doing Dreamy Dreaming? It wasn't to, become rich and famous, to make my living off of it. Well, and I watch, YouTube demonetize people and screw with people, and that's all good. It's their thing, they can do whatever the heck they want, right? And but me, I did this to bring to you a truth, of meditation, right? Not to compete with John Birmingham or anybody else on YouTube, for that matter. And to just be me and to interact with you. Right? How can get stuck in my head? Anyway. So, I got like 700 plus.
Ice water, sweet tea, unsweet tea, and then Coke product. Sweet tea.
Um, you know, to come do these shows for you is, take time out, kind of, I have to drive between 20 and 30 miles to come here, which is, I mean, it's just a nice place. And then I have to spend, somewhere between, it's usually about 12, 13 bucks. So, I've got I've said enough. And, I would suggest you go get yourself a dartboard and some darts and throw the darts at the dartboard. And when you get a number, go to that number on my channel. Show number 10 or 40 or 200 or 260 or 375. But when you're throwing the thing there, you may hit like 12. So, okay, you can go watch show number 12. Or you hit just 2. You can just, throw another dart and see if you get another number. Or go watch the second show. Anyway, start watching the shows because there's a lot of information on there. Oh, it is a great place. It's a nice little. It's a restaurant, cabins, swimming pool, lake, marina where you can rent boats. The pontoon boats. You go all over the place. You have speedboat, ski boat, and the prices are relatively, on the off days or off season, it's about 50, 60 bucks and a night. And around here, I think in a couple of days will be the last day of summer, astronomically. But September is one of the warmer months, and it stays warm all the way until December. Where it's like 60, 70 during the day if it's sunny, and at night it's like between 40 and 50 something. So I can live with that. So anyway, I'm gonna go back to living. I've been reading a lot, writing a lot, and I want to read you a little from a couple of novels I'm working on. Boo, 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 boo. And I don't know if anyone saw John's Little Meltdown yesterday. Well, that's what I used to have to deal with every single day, 4 or 5 times a day. And you pretty much saw the arc of John. He's not so bad, he's insane, he's this, he's that. But he's none of the above. The real deal and why John is so important. But he had nobody else. He had cut, every bridge, every tie, everything, And he also represented, I keep calling the canary in the coal mine, he really is the mirror image of what's going on with humanity. On all those different characters he has, he's representing. So it's a sociological experience for me to have been with him all those years, 3 years. I didn't have to be there. John views everything as transactional. So, he couldn't, wouldn't or didn't want to go down and do his errands, I would do them for him. And he said, "I'll give you money." Well, I know money, so hey, give me money, not a problem. But it was like, $20, $40, $50, and I used to spend more on getting us food for meals for both of us than that's my attitude. I'm going to cook for myself. I like to, eat with somebody else, not just like off in the corner. So anyway, um, but here I am in a beautiful spot, and so I have no need. And the other reason I stayed in Roanoke is that I wired myself into doctors. Now, I don't have the same kind of doctors I have here, but through my meditations every day, and my, I live a plot of land that's like 4 football fields, and I have to walk a football field over here to go use the John. I have to walk a football field over here to sit under the hammock, and and I'm always like going from one place to the other. So I'm walking, 10, 20 football fields every day, and they're not like this. They're like this. So it's been good, and I don't, they cut my food stamps down to $54, and so that's why I supplement when having meals at a place like this. But I'm kind of trying to marshal my funds and not spend as much, so I'm not going to be doing as many YouTubes. Right? Maybe 1 or 2, maybe 3 a week, maybe. But as I've said before, I got so many, shows on my channel, Dreamy Dreamland with Sensei Al Bob, that just, go get yourself a dartboard, throw a dart, whatever number it is, to watch that show. And there's so much stuff on these things, and they're all shamanic, right? So what I've really been doing is reading a lot and writing. So I'm going to read you a little bit. And so, spending 3 years with John has influenced me. And so, there's a lot of that. But again, John isn't just John. He represents humanity. So, and it's too bad that he took. So the novel I've been working on recently is called Moral Majority, Family Values, Broken Girl, Black Widow, Hot Pants. Broken Girl, Body Dysmorphia of the Soul. Love is the language in which God speaks. But when we listen with our love's co-creation to love's voice of empathy, it is our heart that encompasses love. All there is love. All else is ego's illusion. Damara, who was the grandma of Pandora. So she was a real piece of work. Damara could not understand why her life sucked so much. She had conquest, raped her web around the rich man's genitals, sucked him dry for the last 20 years. Then she murdered him, had her family doctor moron and county medical examiner, one of her sexual mannequins, declare him, her old man, her husband, dead within 30 minutes of her allegedly finding him dead in the shower. Within 2 hours, she had him in a cheap box in the funeral home on repose. 12 hours later, a 2-page remembrance in the capital paper of evidence. The state record 1 hour past the legal limit. Larry, the old man, was cremated 25 hours from the time Larry was declared dead. Larry was smoked, torched, incinerated, evidence of murder destroyed, no autopsy. Everything in Damara's life always had been conditional. and transactional. She always forced everyone in her life to do as she wanted. Any joy. With Larry's ashes on the mantle of her new home, that's all she could taste. But Damara liked the taste of Scott free murder. Within a week of Larry's murder, Damara had sold Larry's old family homestead and bought herself one of those new tribal wives. It had that formaldehyde new car smell, guaranteed to last a year. The salesman said it was that sweet smell of money. When Damara was a young girl, she was always a mean girl. She took no prisoners. She knew she wasn't popular amongst her peers, or her parents bought her friends. They were not peers, they were her property. As a bad girl, the only thing she could remember that brought her joy was setting a bird nest ablaze with gasoline. The helpless babies burned with suffering. This did not bring her joy as a memory of the burning baby birds did. It wasn't enough. Readers, you're saying to yourselves, who is this fracking bitch? Now that is the correctamundo question to be asking, for Damara wasn't some whack job that would end up on the Jerry Show or page 6 on whatever supermarket checkout line tabloid, where Damara, equally whack job's neighbors would be saying, she was such a Christian lady, always being with the ministers, getting personally involved with getting saved. You always seeing her around the church in town on her knees, and Damara would say, I'm only on my knees polishing the knob of Jesus. Who is this bitch that she can kill my good friend Larry? Too legitimate to quit. Random Bob, legal counsel for all who could afford it and those who were just in the wrong place at the wrong time. How can that bitch have Larry cremated 1 hour of the legal limitations? That's a state record. No autopsy. I had just served divorce papers to that bitch. We had her dead to rights, and then less than 48 hours, Larry ends up dust in an urn. If that bitch didn't murder Larry, Opie, you're an honest cop. Sheriff Oppenheimer Taylor, everyone just called him Opie, morbid, obese body moved with emotional and gastropodic intelligence, effect to Random Bob's not too subtle accusation that Sheriff Opie was in on the collusion. Sheriff Opie's gut rumbled like an LA earthquake, and his fat but cheesecakes opened like San Andreas Fault, releasing a Mount St. Helens of body tell. You know, Sheriff Opie was lying when he farted, and when he shit his pants like he just had. You know he was lying like a rug. You can take that to the bank. Random Bob. Now that's just fake news. You know I was miles away with you and the boys at Madame Labelle's House of Family Values. There was no collusion, no collusion. Opie, I know I'm the only one of our card party who wasn't racking that bitch. It's not so funny that you six ended up as Larry's pallbearers. That bitch tried to stop me from seeing Larry off. Damara ain't no small town sociopathic psychocropus sexual predator. Damara is universal demon seed ready to infect all humanity. Damara is a Pandora's box of sociological, socialized, spiritual, pandemic, pandemonium. Mark my words, Opie. None of this is going to end well for all that had a hidden hand in killing Larry. Now, come on down, random. No, now calm on down, Random Bob. Don't start nothing you can't finish. We all really like you. We made you state Supreme Court judge and everything, but you are not one of us. You even married other. I went a bit too far. I should not have said that about Alina. We all love her. She's also very smart, a real lawyer in her own right, and always standing right behind you. The one who wears the pants. There I go again. I got to excuse myself, Random Bob. I got to freshen on up. As Opie got up, the butt mud flowed down his pants. As he entered his private toilet, he yelled into his private assistant, Helen, get in here, girl, and clean this mess up. Helen was Elena's identical twin sister. Random Bob, I just love racial and gender equality, don't you? Good day, sir. When Opie ended any conversation with good day, sir, you knew he was sticking it to you, no matter how bad he smelled. Okay, so that's, you know, 2.5 pages of my 180 pages so far written of this story. And it includes many other characters. It includes, Random Bob and Opie and that and the collusion, and it's also has the old Irish crone and her animal totem, the crow, and it also has a number of other heroes. And the story goes way deep into a understanding of what's going on in the world, right? So, as all my writing, if you go to xratted.blogspot.com, you will read my other novels, right? And as soon as I get these, I'm going to stick them up there too, once I can figure out how to do it, because YouTube bought Blogspot and they've changed a lot of their protocols. So anyway, but I'll go to my yes, that is my writing. I'm a writer, I'm a griot. I tell stories, So, Tony, go to my xratted.blogspot.com and you will read my other novels, right? I've written so far about 26 novels. In my life as a scholar in universities, I probably wrote over 300 or 400 white papers on the things I was studying about. I had a lot of articles in journals. And so, yeah, I'm a writer. So that was my writing, right? So let me read you something else I've written. Okay, I don't know. Blogspot, I might. This novel is about my experience in New Mexico and about the art world in New York and around the world in the early 70s, right? So, and this story is called Angel Dust. Angel dust. She shimmered like a desert sunset, reflecting the dust of our life's inability to face the path we infect those angels we say we love. Indian Sunset loves well. Written down by Owl Bob. Gandhi said, for a nation to live by an eye for an eye will only leave a nation blind. It is. And I got that from in 1968. I was in High Point, North Carolina, in my friend's, one of my best friends from prep school. He had, we both went off to college, and we both were studying things we already did as a profession, right? And our professors were jealous. Why are you even at that school? Well, we're at that school to stay out of the Vietnam War. So, I never did anything, I didn't burn my draft card or anything. And I kind of got in, I've always been involved in social activism. And because I've always been a person, through all the people who I grew up, all the mentors I had, my grandma, Grandpa Stahl, Madame Olga Kluver, Billy Kluver, all the different people in my life who were way older than me. When I was between 9 and 19, these people were my mentors. I hung out with them, the first Marlboro man. Um, he was my friend from Soho. He's one of the only other guys who was living down, and he owned a building right on the triangle where Broome Street, West Broadway, and another street. There's a triangle right there. He owned all the buildings around it. Anyway, and so he came from wealth. His mother had been a art auctioneer. So I had all these people who were way older and really experienced, really did things, accomplished things, were movers and shakers. And me, I was always known as the people they hung out with would call me kid. And that was a term of endearment, like Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, kid. And but my mentors always called me by my name. And so I was in High Point, North Carolina, visiting my friend, and and he was always into using, selling, and he was a photographer like I was, but he had been a photographer all his life, like I was a electrician all my life, and so basically I was when the college and didn't have a deferred anymore. I was always moving. I never spent any more than a few months in a place. And I was visiting all my friends in different colleges. I had friends at Duke, and I had friends at UNC, and I had friends at Georgetown. I had friends at, had my hair cut the same way. I'd wear one of my nice Brooks Brothers jackets and a nice pair of khaki pants and Legions, and I fit right in. And they had no computers, so there was no real ID cards. And a better time, and had stayed a bedroom and looked out the screen window, and I looked at each square of the screen, and each square of the screen was a different universe, and I would go into that So what's the meaning of the universe? When I kind of came out of that, there was my friend's mother, like looking very concerned. And she goes, "What is?" And I go, "What is what?" She goes, "Well, you've been sitting here on the edge of the bed saying it is for the last 6 hours. And no matter how I try to, snap you out, you just kept saying it is. So what is?" Anyway, so that's the it is. And one of those little squares was this land of the well, of love's light. So here we go. That was the explanation. And again, in my novels, I kind of, when there's an explanation like that, I will put like, A, B, C, D, E, and you go to the general. It is. So YouTube is trying to break up my channel here. It's like flashing, anyway. But I'll just keep reading. So. It is the well of love's light. Our story begins in a garden with a well, wanting to be wished upon. A world A word is heard. The well is God, and God is love, and loves in hope. The well makes the well's love in the fabric of life that all things are woven upon, that yields love's unconditional is for us, the well's children, to come in from the cold of fear, windy hate, the cold of fear's windy hate, to be sheltered creates a line where things are created outside the Creator's garden. Here, the well has no will. It is a force, neither of good nor bad. Yet our will, like a child, just wants to be part of a certain process. But as part of the action of our free will we are held responsible. When our free will puts ourselves into the shoes of another, there and beauty and sharing compassion through the individual experience of the well's love. Ba, 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 ba. Where the well were the well to be climate, our free will's love, it would bring spiritual and species evolution into the possible. That is why to be or not to be is the question. Okay, I have another 387 pages of this novel. Hey, sweetheart. Oh yeah, have you warmed me up? And butter too, if you had some more. Anyway, thanks, bud. Christ said, "The meek shall inherit the earth, not to be used as target practice." What is meant here is we, as a culture, should be acting as Christ said we should. Thank you, darling. Living our lives like true Christians with love in our heart for all our brothers and sisters, and not hate, rather than worrying our religion like wearing our religion like a fashion statement. Bling bling. We should be living our Christianity as Christ showed us how. Love is the key, judgment for no one. Let the one without sin throw the first stone. Gandhi said, "I have no problem with the teaching of Christ. It is the followers that give me a real heartache." See that Christianity as a culture controls 9/10 of the world's wealth. Then it is obvious that Christianity caused 9/10 of the death, war, and suffering of our green paradise prison planet. Like gravity, things all fall down. If we do not wise up, we will be the usual suspect. We will be those peasants who lose everything in every day and every way for the next 2,000 years. Dear reader, I hope putting poems before the story does not confuse you. If you can feel the heart of the poem, you will be primed to get most of the story. Ba, 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 ba. So that's just some of my writings. And now I wrote that in 1971. I wrote that poem in 1971. And I was living out in the Four Corners, right near Mount Taylor, right near the Hopi sacred ground of Mount Taylor was known by the Hopi as the snake goddess. And it was the deepest, richest uranium mine in the world. And the story the Hopi told was that if you messed with the snake goddess, she would consume you. So here these morons are digging the deepest uranium mine on the planet into a sacred goddess, kind of like Shiva. And all these religions are the same thing, Hinduism, Islam, Christianity, Judaism, you name it, they're all the same. Buddhism, and they all are taught by the same proverb, love your brother as you love yourself. Now, most problems is that people don't love themselves. What did that do? And that's why John Birmingham is such a canary in the coal mine. And you can see everything that's going on from that young man. Just go watch any of his YouTubes, and you'll get the 411 of what's going on in the human race. Anyway, now it's been 48 minutes and 39 seconds. So now 3 of you there. So I'm going to read a little bit more of this. Let's see. How We Saved Venus by meeting Grandfather David out in the middle of nowhere, New Mexico. About 5 years before I met Gabriel and learned how much of a lucky bastard I was. And that's, in 1970, we were 3 or 4 or 5 or somewhere in there. There was one of New York City's big blackouts. Now they're getting usuals, But this one was like all of New York City and a good chunk of the East Coast. And it was in a theater in, down in Times Square. And I would get out of work around 11-ish. And, if there were a number of discotheques within a 10-block radio that I built. So I could just, saunter in and go past the velvet, rope. And I didn't have to wait online. I was one of the cool kids. And, I would walk into the VIP round and they'd have my table for me. Anyway, I could do that, or I could just go home. And I would hail a cab. And part of my job, I, got a salary where they gave me a paycheck, but I also, there was a box in my office that the producer would stick a few 20s, a couple of Benjamins in there for, loose change for me to use if a light bulb burned out or something needed, so I didn't have to go through the process. I could just go get it. Or anything else I needed, right? So, and that was one of my, parts of the job. So, I could just, pretty much every night I pulled out a 20 and took a cab home, And right about when I got off was a good time to get a cab. The people had already gone to the show, had already gone to dinner, had already kind of either gone home or gone out to where they were going to go out. So there's still a lot of cabs roaming around Times Square. And because the next time people would come out would be about sometime between 3 in the morning and 6 in the morning. So they were like looking around for somebody who wanted to go to somewhere. So, hey, take me to Brooklyn. So, and usually it took me a few minutes to hail a cab. And then when I said, hey, I want to go to Brooklyn, they would say, get out. Because they knew they weren't going to get a ride back my way. So I just stepped up to the curb, just did this, and boom, a checker cab showed up. And checker cab, which in the old days, 6, 7 people in the back of this cab, whereas a regular car cab today, 3 people at best, maybe 4. So, and they were really big, and you could really stretch out, and it was, fun and comfortable, a checker cab. So, I put my finger up, boom, checker cab. I get in, and this guy goes, where to, bud? And I go, Brooklyn. Oh, no problem. Takes off. And from there to the Williamsburg Bridge, I don't know, it's about 6 miles, give or take. But the lights are, if you were to just go down 7th Avenue or Broadway, right, get over to 3rd Avenue, go and, and wiggle your way there if you did my traffic lights. So I would be a really, I'm just getting over being a bad speed driver, even to myself. And so I about to say, and he turned left, and he did the squiggle just like I would normally tell a cab driver. They did exactly it. And this was the first time in my whole experience of never getting stopped by a traffic light. I get stopped by at least two if I was doing good instead of 12. But he didn't get stopped by one. And as we were going over the Waynesburg Bridge, and he took the outside lane so he could get a real good view, I was looking around, when I was looking downtown, and bingo, the lights blinked out. It's like, what? And then I looked over there, and then Queens blinked out. And then, Upper Manhattan blinked out, and the only lights were the cars on the FDR Drive. And then Brooklyn blinked out. And as we came off the Waynesburg Bridge and drove into Waynesburg onto Broadway, it was like the people out on the street running around. It was like a holiday, not like a catastrophe. Away for free. So the, other folks, their slaves, wouldn't go nuts. It's like a holiday. So they got ice cream because it was going to melt. Their food, it was going to, So anyway, we kind of drove through this, and he went right to where my place was, way off in the industrial section of Williamsburg. And he said to me, "Hey, listen, it's going to be a hard night out there. I got a big bottle of wine in the back of my car. Why don't you take that up and we can just sit?" Because we've been having a great conversation about philosophy and theology and astrophysics and art. And this guy was really interesting. And his name was Gabriel. Anyway, long story short, he was my guardian angel. And he gave me the 411 on a lot of things. And that's where I start this story. How we Saved Venus by meeting Grandfather David out in the middle of nowhere, New Mexico. About 5 years before I met Gabriel and learned how much of a lucky bastard I was, I believed I was living in the American avant-garde village of visual arts, Soho, New York. I believed I was living in the American avant-garde village of visual arts, Soho, New York City. I believed I was living in American avant-garde village of the visual arts of Soho, New York City. I believed I was the cultural provocateur of Spring Street. I was the interesting guy at Spring Natural Restaurant. I believed I was the art party ringleader of Broome Street. I lived behind the walls of Una Bear Gallery. I believed I was indispensable to the new art scene. I was the kamikaze master electrician for most of the galleries and nightclubs of the inn. I believed I was the godfather of West Broadway. If it was happening, I made it happen. I believed I took care of personal things for those in the know in the art world, like Rob Weaney and his dance company, Ivan Crap, O.T. Harris Art Gallery, Steve Bill of 54. I believe I was the mayor of Soho. I was a magnificent seven who I was one of the Magnificent Seven who was in John Lindsay's inner office at Gravy Mansion, smoking cigars, drinking VSO and snifters, marking city maps and documents to find the new neighborhoods of the new world art order. Little did I know what a chump this lucky bastard was. Yep, that was me. And it's, after my eyes were woken up 5 years after this, um, you know, by not just, from age of 19 to 27, I was awoken. I died twice, and I had all these other intercessions. Right? I've always been on the inside, being used for my insight, but never being given the real power till I was left expletive out. And I never knew it. For anyone who doesn't know, SOHO stands for South of Houston in New York City. In everything permanently dead, there is a cycle of life. Between 1969 and 1976, that window of creativity was in Manhattan, a little village center of creativity that hosted the mall of postmodern craft art world was Soho. This whorehouse gave the birth to expletive bling bling art world as an industry where you can add to the bottom line. And that was what it was all about. Meaning guys like me were doing all kinds of flash art scenes and happenings, and we had our own art galleries, and the powers that shouldn't be, like OK Harris, they gave us money, whispered in the ears of their political friends to say, hey, give these guys grants. Because what we did was we found the aesthetic for this corporate world to just take and rebrand, like Samo was a good example, Keith Haring, and then Banksy, was used. He was like the Mark Zuckerberg of that aesthetic. So that's where I was, and I thought I was the dude. That's why my Gmail is the dude awake 42. I've had to wait 42 times before I got here. That dude awake 42 at Gmail. Go read my stuff at xratted.blogspot.com. Like every other dilettante, I felt my fingerprints on everything that was. I had enough self-esteem not to call myself a moneyed artist, enough integrity only to charge people for my electrical work as if it was artwork. I had free license as a dummy, lucky bastard, to make a claim that my other works were spiritual. That's such a catchy hook. In those days, I worked for people who had more money than sense. And they worked for people who had more money than sense. So I figured too, I was paid and how well I spent the money. Things always worked out for me. I never had to worry. I never worried, how am I going to pay my bills? Even though my mommy and daddy pay for everything, I don't do anything except sit in the house that they bought me. Ritual is really is like Vincent Van Gogh. John Birmingham's going to be remembered as Vincent Van Gogh someday. His movies are going to be revered, like in France, Jerry Lewis is revered. things always worked out for me. I never had to worry. I was a man of the people. Fill my belly. The Bob Weenie Dance Company, a postcard to Queen Victor fame, took a group of dancers on tour of America. We were in Santa Fe, New Mexico, the city of walls, dancing for the rich people in the ancient cultural city of Tehran. 2 million in cash. An alleged collective. Bob packed up the bus and then ordered everyone to board as a CIA lackey, keeping evil by going to entertain it. Bob said, easy. They're paying me catching everyone who wants to be in darkness of the desert night. As the bus drove off with all my friends who I thought believed in what I did. Even my lover left on the blame and fortune. The door of the rich host. Just the day before, our rich master of hosts were gushing with admiration and ideological and monetary solemnity. Money is nice. Charge the poor. Boo 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 boo. I learned what a liberal is. A thing that took hold of my heart that night was not fear or anger over the hypocrisy of the communities I was surrounded by. Let me go. The hypocrisy of the community I was surrounded by, that he and felt I was part of, but rather the natural beauty of the samba. Okay, so we have our yo-yo back, and I want to show you yo-yo is, and as I've said before, they're both a open window, a mirror, and a vehicle to see what's going on in our as a simulator. So I want everyone, all two of you, to start to meditate. You know, breathe in that 20%, breathe out that 30%. Let your as shamanic light grounding to your chi, and you are feeling that uplift, which allows you to see your mitochondria, your cells, be energized by this prana. And if you can take that light and go back to reading, and YouTube is going, your connection's unstable, please wait well. Ba, ba, ba. In Albuquerque, only old tattered pink pickup truck slowed to give me a ride. It was my environmental oppression that is the struggle of existence in the state of New Mexico. The Starry Night, I met one of my greatest teachers, Jose Romero. That cabin and the discipline of his service to his and to that America wasn't living up to its potential, it was slipping these phenomena to as many universities as possible using the GI Bill. After receiving many degrees in psychology, history, anthropology, sociology, and leaving so strong and so great, this family of citizens is what makes a democracy. We are not some Velveeta cheese melting pot. We all different flavors living in harmony. You're white Americans here. You do not know. I asked for crumbs of dignity that being a human being demands. Profit from stealing what is indigenous, what is your freedom, your life. The bandits all come from the World Bank, the IMF, the UN, and kill everything that is you. And when you lose them, 15 months ago, because right now it's like halftime, right? In 15 months, when I'm talking about, you're going to be seeing. Uh, Blah, blah, blah. So, John, how you doing, buddy? I saw that you took your tirade down. You should have left it up. That was really who you were. That was the you. I may not be there. I still care about you, John. You. There you are, John Birmingham. You. You are John Birmingham. Do you know you are just one of John's multiple personalities? Da 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 da. You. You. And where's that feminine chicken? Just like you get everything from Amazon, So if I'm not there to go get your packages, who goes to the post office? Which personality? Da, da, da. Yesterday's tirade, which you didn't have the guts to keep up there, Now, I'm sure a lot of people took screenshots of that one. It was pretty amazing. But you're at a point where you can come into who you are, John. It doesn't matter how many people watch look, you got umpteen thousand subscribers, right? Got it's million views. Isn't that enough? Your mommy and daddy, you know. So I would try and be happy about your life, buddy. You live in you've done a great job on the school. It's like Duchamp's piece in the Louvre. It's going to go down. You know, and the only thing scaring people away is you. You know, and your ex. They were like, and whatever they become, it's half of you. You. Half of you. And I don't know how healthy it is that they've been homeschooled their whole friggin' life and they're now becoming teenagers and they have no real friends. All they got is stuff and they leave strewn in the corner. Ba-ba, do. La. And John, you should know that you should not drink coffee. I would say that the tirade yesterday was mostly coffee. It wasn't really life experience. It was a chemical response. You will when you lose them. You have a huge opportunity and responsibility with your vote. In these days, without freedom balanced on the razor's edge, Claire Lewis. John, you should. What's the last book you read? Come on, do you know how to read? You have a huge opportunity and responsibility with your vote. In these days, without freedom balanced on a razor's edge of the corporate bottom line, we find ourselves in more than an illegal war in Asia where our president cynically lies. And after that was paper. We have been at war since the Indian Wars. Today, the citizen consumer perception of their democracies of the transnational corporate state, where dying of overdoses. I haven't stopped it. Back in the day when I was at, here we did acupuncture, the protocols at the VA in 1974. So I've been on here about an hour and a half, and I love you, buddy. Sweet guy. Be that person in that video where you were hugging and kissing the dogs, where you were dancing in the kitchen. That's the real you, or a good, better portion of the better you. And whatever, John, it's all about what thoughts we have in our heads. So I live at a place where things are really spooky. Like last night, I was like out there, and scary monsters were all around. It's what you process. Pretty much everything out of your mouth is the anger of a little child, you know, just exactly what happened. So no one watches most people on YouTube, you know. So, John, you should really go check out two people. Uh, Billy on the Street, and Randy Rainbow. These are two guys who were not brought up like you, having and look at Randy Rainbow, both up for an Emmy for their YouTube channel. It's gone so, and they had no money behind them, saying how great, So, oops. It's pretty much up to you, John Boy, to really be how you are right now as you. And I feel sorry for you. I feel, if you read what I had left on your comment thing, it was, and that video was probably the most real video. They all think, "Come on, buddy, snap out of it." Because you live on top of a mountain in a beautiful place, and I'm 20, 30 miles to all that you need. I learned, and I was very when I came back in 1980, and my parents were in their mid 70s, and I had nothing to do with my family for most of my life. I said, you know what? And my brothers and sisters are at the height of their angst with my family because they worked for my parents. I didn't. I said, yeah, my dad, you need to take care of us. And I said, sure, but only when you're in nickel. Didn't think, I was working and you got to come down now. I said, Dad, he would aligning to, this is where most men have their midlife crisis. You hear that, you? This is where you're going to have your midlife crisis. So, come on. That I was kind of depending on is that I could stay at the school for a day or two here and there when I had to go see doctors. Well, obviously, after you threw that, you stayed, you're living in great shape. The school is great. You have no worries for money. Any doesn't mean that you don't have any. You got a ton in the bank. Your parents keep putting it. Anyway, so here we are at 1 hour, 31 minutes, and 26 seconds. At 1:31, I'm going to say, see you later, guys. Again, get yourself a. First of all, you should be putting these suckers down on thumb drives and hard drives and CD-ROMs. You should be, keeping this for posterity because God knows what's going to happen to YouTube. Kind of, every time I do one of these things, I go into a shamanic state and kind of, put the seal on there, and all those who see it, So yeah, I have, I don't know, pushing 400 cadre. And I have something like, I don't know, 70,000 views. I mean, it's a lot. Slash YouTube, slash whatever that broad's name is, slash Jimmy, slash old Jimmy, slash King Kong Jimmy. Yeah, that was pretty amazing. I'm sure YouTube has put that on their little must-see list. Anyway, it's co-creation. So there's one person left. Who is that person? Is it you or somebody else? Tony Kidd.